Oh nah, why do we have to do this? Lego, what are you doing? Why are you rubbing salt in the wound one more time? We've already made our fair share of Edmonton Oilers related content, and as we had discussed earlier in today's show, the Oilers actually do have a game later today. In about an hour and a half, I'd say they're playing off against the Detroit Red Wings, so yeah, we'll see what happens there. But this isn't technically an Oilers video. Today what I wanted to do was highlight once more one of the biggest and craziest additions the St. Louis Blues made this previous offseason, who is showing off extraordinarily well. Let's talk today about Philip Broberg. 23 years old, left-handed defenseman, 6'3", 198, signed on until the end of 25-26, making $4.5 million a year. The thing is, with Broberg, he wasn't really supposed to be worth $4.5 million. He had signed an offer sheet to leave the Edmonton Oilers because the St. Louis Blues could afford the dollars, and they said, hey, this is a pretty talented player. The Oilers are not doing their part in giving him any sort of a dollar amount that he'd be comfortable in signing. They're kind of lowballing him. They're lowballing Holloway too. So let's swoop in there, give them some draft picks to get these guys, and see if we could wreak some havoc on the NHL. That's exactly what the Blues ended up doing. For a guy like Broberg, who last season only had 2 points in 12 games and 3 points in 10 playoff games, you can say that $4.5 million is a pretty steep amount. However, you can also talk about usage. You can also talk about how Broberg played in the finals last season. And you could also talk about the lack of opportunity. So, they signed him, or at least he signed the offer sheet. The Oilers did not match, they got the draft pick compensation, and now Broberg is at 7 points in 9 games played. If you go over to his game log, he is playing, let's say, 20-21 minutes a night, and he had started out the season with a really stellar 6-game point streak. Now, he had scored 0 points in the loss to Winnipeg and then the loss to Montreal, but still, he has been fantastic. And I think, for a lot of Blues fans, this has been a really big ray of hope. Broberg and Holloway have been performing exceptionally well. I'd say Broberg a lot more so. Holloway has been good, but not as good. But with Broberg just kind of taking over the blue line in St. Louis, I wanted to turn your attention over to this article on dailyhive.com. It was published by Colton Pankew from earlier this week, October 25th, 2024. Broberg speaks out about leaving the Edmonton Oilers. I'm glad it happened. Oh boy, this is great. The link to this article is going to be in the description, and you can go out there, read all of it yourself. Though Holloway seemed happy in Edmonton, it was known that Philip Broberg was not. The 23-year-old was granted permission to seek out a trade last December after frustration stemming from remaining in the AHL. A trade never came to fruition, and Broberg wound up playing a big role for the Oilers in the playoffs. Based on a new interview with Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman and Kyle Bukauskas on 32 Thoughts, however, it sounds as though his role in the postseason didn't necessarily change his perspective on the organization. Here's the quote. I'm glad the offer sheet happened, Broberg said. I had a good time in Edmonton, I enjoyed it, but I think I was ready for a new chapter. He did, however, admit that joining a new team for the first time in his NHL career was a little strange. Thankfully, he had a good friend in Holloway who was along for the ride. I'm happy that I got Holloway with me to the Blues, said Broberg. I think that made the decision easier for both of us. And to be honest, when you think about it like that, the way Broberg talks about it, it's almost like he might have convinced Holloway to leave Edmonton and join him. Hey, come over. Look, they gave me an offer sheet. They're giving you an offer sheet. I want out. They're giving you a lot more money than if you would have stayed. Just come in. Come on in, buddy. And I'd say that a lot of fans of the Oilers started to immediately note that Dylan Holloway in his interviews and how he was talking about the situation, maybe he felt at some point in his heart that the Oilers would have been able to match his offer sheet. Not the Broberg one, $4.5 million's a lot, but Dylan Holloway, the guy himself, may have been interested in staying, and might have actually just used the offer sheet process as a means to getting whatever dollar amount that he wanted. That's not new. In particular, we had seen the same thing happen with Sebastian Aho. He wanted a contract, the Carolina Hurricanes wouldn't give it to him. He knew they could give it to him, so he was like, okay, I'll sign this offer sheet with Montreal. Boom, it's signed, and now if you want to keep me, Carolina, you have to give me the money that I already agreed to with the Habs. He didn't sign a crazy out-of-this-world amount like Philip Broberg or Jesperi Kotkaniemi did. Dylan Holloway was a lot more reasonable with it. But either way, Broberg speaks out about this situation, saying, yeah, it's great to be able to have a buddy that is also coming along for this transition in Dylan Holloway. After Broberg had signed the offer sheet, many speculated that at least part of it had to do with the fact that he may not only play a bigger role in St. Louis, but would only get to play on his regular side. In Edmonton, particularly during the playoffs, he was tasked with playing on his offside, which is never an easy task for any D-man. They have a very good D-core in Edmonton. You have Ekholm, great player, Nurse, also a very good player, maybe not a $9 million player, but still an alright player, and Brett Kulak is the same. I had to play a lot on my offside. I've done that a lot in Sweden before, so I'm used to it, but it's a little different playing the right side on a smaller ice surface. And that's another thing as well. I mean, Philip Broberg always had a game that, in my opinion, was a lot more suitable for smaller ice anyway. When he's on top, when he's doing his thing, he is controlling the play through his fluidity and through his skating. He's got a lot of horsepower in those feet, and when he's able to cover a higher percentage of the ice with less strides, it's actually very helpful for him in being able to create offense and envision what it is he's trying to do. In the SHL and the Allsvenskan, he was always a little bit more tougher when it comes to producing points compared to that small stint we had seen out of him at the Hlinka Gretzky tournament in 2018, which is obviously what put him on the map in the first place. So for Broberg, being a part of a system that allows him to play that game, especially on his strong side, yeah, no wonder the results are coming. Even the comments in this article go out there and say, of course Broberg is happy. He got at least twice what he is worth on a 2-year deal, plus he gets top-line minutes versus third pair in Edmonton. It was great for him. The Blues overpaid, but they know that you pretty much have to do that for an offer sheet. As an Oiler fan, I'm happy to see they didn't match the offer. I'm also happy that the kid gets some ice time and a chance to play a big role for the Blues. Now, that's not even talking about how good he has been. Like, he's been playing so well, and he's been, quite frankly, outscoring a lot of the Oiler defensemen on their team this season. I mean, Evan Bouchard, yeah, okay, he's supposed to be the top guy. He's not. It's Mattias Ekholm, who has 5 points in 8 games. Bouchard only has 4. Brett Kulak has 3, and then everybody else has fewer. Philip Broberg would have been the top scoring defenseman on the Edmonton Oilers had he been on this team. And, I mean, look, it's not like he would have dethroned Bouchard. Chris Knoblauch would not have done that. Not in a million years. No matter what the guy's making dollar-wise. So, for Philip Broberg, for him to speak out and say, yeah, I'm glad that I left, I'm glad the offer sheet happened, I'm glad to leave Edmonton, that's a pretty big burn. But I wanted to go out there and make a video about this anyway, because the Blues have an off day, they're not playing tonight. The Oilers are, however, so, I don't know, we can talk about whatever happens with Edmonton sometime soon, but for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Philip Broberg speaking out about his offer sheet and how he's glad everything went down the way it did? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.